Spark the brain, 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 spark the brain. We here. Spark the brain, spark the brain, spark the brain. It's the third round, RPB. I don't know if they ready for this one, man. You gotta switch it up on them a little bit. You know what I'm talking about? Have a seat at the master's table. We ain't asked for no seat. We went and built up our own. You see, it's rather stable. You got 2 eyes, 2 ears, you know the rest. Look, listen, and observe, but also respect. In God we trust. It's obvious. The money ain't the root of all evil, but lack thereof. That's why they deprive you of resources. Why they focus on streams of income, at least 3 sources. We certified, we solidified. And they say they created hip-hop, but all that shit is lies. Cause every element came before the development of what we callin' hip-hop now. It's all relevant to all the topics we gon' touch on. Spoiler alert, as we play this album, ain't no club songs. Boy, that hurt, but this ain't no conscious album. It's just that real shit, that Black God mantra album. I hope y'all feel this. Spark the brain, 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 spark the brain. Spark the brain, spark the brain, spark the brain. Spark the brain, spark the brain, spark the brain. Spark the brain, spark the brain, spark the brain. Spark the brain, spark the brain, spark the brain. Spark the brain, spark the brain, spark the brain. My mind is spark the brain, spark the brain.
The masters, the masters, the masters, the masters.
Peace. This is the Black Dot, father, author, writer, poet, MC, one half of the dynamic duo, the #1 father and son podcast, Urban X TV. I am super excited about the new release, The Master's Table, by Sincere Love the God and RP Beats. This album is going to be crazy. It's the follow-up to The Spear and The Shield. Already know what time it is. It's got some dope pieces on it. You're going to love it. Also on the album is yours truly, The Black Dot. So you want to go to the Masters RSVP and secure your copy now. They got a bundle package. You get a backdrop, you get a poster, you get the digital download, you get the physical copy, you get a hoodie. The whole process is really crazy. So RSVP to Masters RSVP, and you can get that dope album, I Sincere Love the God and RP Beats, The Master's Table. You will never be disappointed at how dope this project is going to be. Peace.
Have a seat at the master's table. We ain't asked for no seat. We went and built up our own. You see, it's rather stable. You got 2 eyes, 2 ears, you know the rest. Look, listen, and observe, but also respect. In God we trust. It's obvious. The money ain't the root of all evil, but lack thereof. That's why they deprive you of resources. Why they focus on streams of income, at least 3 sources. We certified, we solidified. And they say they created hip-hop, but all that shit is lies. Cause every element came before the development of what we callin' hip-hop now. It's all relevant to all the topics we gon' touch on. Spoiler alert, as we play this album, ain't no club songs. Boy, that hurt, but this ain't no conscious album. It's just that real shit, that Black God mantra album. I hope y'all feel this. Do for self or suffer the consequences. The wisdom of Elijah's inside of the conscientious. So I move.
And boom, we are here. Just like that, we are here. Back once again. Welcome to another episode of Sincere Love the Godcast. This is the Black Business Showcase. I am the God Sincere Love, here with my lovely co-host with the new wig this year.
We new year, new wig.
Nyctegur in the digital building. What's going on?
What's good? Today was my first day back after the fast.
Yeah.
I feel amazing. I feel energized. I feel like I haven't been sluggish. Like, just wow. You know what? I thugged this out too, y'all. I just want to say this. I thugged this out. I had my mind made up I thought I was going to go crazy and just have the jitters or headaches and all these things. Never happened. This whole time and before, I was hitting the gym, going for an hour a night, doing the sauna, like just all weightlifting, light cardio, but just heavy lifting or whatever. I feel amazing.
You trying to get diesel on us or something?
You know what? I'm just trying to, get it right, get it tight. No, but yeah, I just feel amazing today. For lunch, I had a chicken salad, nothing else, and that was at work. For lunch and dinner, carrot juice.
Oh yeah. Okay. So yeah, you're doing a little bit better than me, man. You know, the fast was great for me also. Day one, that night I had got a little headache, like right in the front of my head. I got a little withdrawal symptoms, kicking that dope. You know what I'm saying? But day 2 and day 3, I felt great. And today when I broke my fast, I actually felt bad. You know what I'm saying? I was like, man, this food is trash. Like, why am I eating? I'm about to do it again next week.
You're going to do it again next? Okay.
I think that's
I'm
what
just
I'm
going to keep doing.
I'm going to do 3 days a week for the rest of the month.
Okay.
I'm going to do 3 days a week for the rest of the month. That's what I'm going to do.
That's a good challenge.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah, you could do it. Just like you ain't know if you could do it in the first place. Like you said, you made up your mind. It ain't nothing like the power of a made up mind. So once you go on and make up your mind that that's what you're going to do, ain't nothing else that can stop
you. True that. Maybe that's why I didn't have, honestly, I wanted to do it because I had like some scary medical, test results initially. Yeah. I would just say, I do good. I didn't tell anybody in my family, was stressed out probably the last 2.5 weeks or so, like majorly, like almost like I felt like I was going to give myself a heart attack. I was like hyperventilating a little bit, but I thugged it out. Had to go and do a second set of tests last Thursday. No cancer. We just gonna say that.
Oh man, that type of scare.
Yeah. So
I rebuke that.
We rebuked that. So I was like, I'm not breaking fast. I'm definitely gonna use this time to thank God for my blessings and the blessings to come. But yeah, totally scary situation.
Appreciate you sharing that with the family. Appreciate you sharing that with us, man. And yeah, we rebuke that. We rebuke that for sure. But family, make sure y'all hitting that like button as y'all come in here. Make sure that you share this out on your social media platforms right now. Let everybody know that we are live with another episode of the Black Business Showcase. If you are not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please make sure you hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so you can be reminded whenever we go live with new episodes of Sincere Love the Godcast. If you're watching us on Facebook or Twitter, make sure you head over to the YouTube channel and do all of that YouTube-y stuff for us. We do this every Wednesday, the Black Business Showcase every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Time, where we bring on business owners, entrepreneurs, nonprofits, people from all different type of industries, just to drop some game on us about how they do things. And so we got a great guest for y'all tonight. We're going to get all up in her Black business like we always do at this time. And one announcement that I want to let y'all know, we are delaying first episode of the Pick Me Godcast until next week. It was supposed to be tomorrow.
Forgive us.
I kind of double booked, you know what I'm saying? I got another broadcast that I'm doing tomorrow. I'm bringing a guest on to talk about the information about the passive income that I've been sharing with y'all the last 3 weeks. So tomorrow is going to be week 4. I'm going to be sharing with y'all my journey, but I'm bringing somebody else on as well to talk about their experience with the program as well. So that'll be tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And what time is that over there? 5 o'clock Pacific time. So make sure y'all tune in for that. Other than that, y'all already know Sundays, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Pacific time. That's where we have our regular broadcast where we cover current events and talk about other issues that we feel are important to Black society. And so let me let y'all know who we got coming on the set tonight so we can go ahead and get this thing started. All right. Hold on. Over here. Boom, 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 boom. Peace. What's going on, Mama Love? Nigga to God. I see y'all up in this thing. All right. Let me let y'all know who we got coming. One second. All right. So I'm gonna have y'all note her history real quick. It's not like a bio, but this is just some bullet points just to talk about some of her experience, because we're going to be talking about something called Plantations for Reparations. All right. So our sister is on a journey to create a form of reparations through recapturing these plantations. I didn't even know there were so many still standing across the country, but we're going to learn all about that tonight. And so just to give y'all some of her experience of why this is the perfect mission for her. She has experience in organizing, directing, and facilitating, activating cultural spaces, galleries, parks, and museums. So Philadelphia African American History Museum, she did an internship there, organizing tours for historical concepts and cultural content. The Miracle Mile Theater in 2013, she was an education coordinator, organized field trips for the Miami-Dade County Public School System. Chroma Gallery and Cultural Space in 2014 through 2016. She did the Juneteenth, Stories of Freedom, Visual and Verbal. And for the Golden Gates Rise and Shine Summer 2017, Yvonne Scarlett Golden Educational and Cultural Center Tour at Daytona Beach, Youth Empowered Summit at Peacock Park. And so without further ado, I would like to introduce to you our guest for this evening, Miss Courtney Omega X. Welcome to the Godcast, beloved.
Hello.
Peace.
Greetings on a chilly New York City night.
Oh wow!
Is it real cold out there?
It's dropping. The temperature drops. You know, it's funny because in the northeast, in this area. And I'm from, I've spent some time in Philly as well. We gotta big up Philly right now too. The 215, everybody. So the sun sets earlier. The sun sets early, and as soon as that sun goes down, we used to have in the South, it's don't be out when the street lights come on, right? Mm-hmm. But in the Northeast, you don't want to be out when that sun go down. That's why I always say the Northeast is the real sun downtown. You don't want to be out here when the sun goes down because it gets chilly. It gets chilly. So the temperatures are steadily dropping, but it's a beautiful night though. The skies have been clear, and so as we know up here too, these are the perfect days for snow because it's real clear skies that make those. It's not what you would think when you think of it's going to snow. It don't be nasty. It don't be wet. It don't be none of that. It be dry, be clear. It's beautiful. And then that snow will fall fall with ease and cause all types of accidents and incidents in the oncoming. But still a great day and an even better night speaking with you all and your audience. Thank you again for the opportunity.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm from New York, man. I don't think I ever described it as beautiful, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
What part?
That weather get disrespectful. I'm from upstate, Middletown, New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. My husband wanted me to hang the Giants. He has a Giants blanket. He was like, "You want to use that as the backdrop?" I said, "Not exactly until they beat the Eagles. Then we can talk about it." But before that happens, we're not gonna hang that up right now. So yes. Yeah.
Right. Nah, but we appreciate you coming through, taking the time to be with us tonight.
Thank
for
you.
sure. So we're very interested to get all up in your black business. So
Let's
I like
get
to
up
start
in
off.
it.
I like to start off with the origin stories from the guests. So give us a little bit of background about yourself. Like take us back to the origins of your story and bring us up to speed to where we at now.
Oh, okay. Well, Courtney Omega, that's real name. That's mama and daddy said I was gonna be the last of 5. So that was it. But the way I got started in this is actually I start with my parents because that's actually how I got started. I want to give some honor and thanks to the ancestors, because without them, there is no me. And both of my parents were social workers. And my grandmother, actually, the Yvonne Scarlett Golden Cultural and Education Center, that was actually my grandmother. She was the first African American mayor of Daytona Beach and the first and only female mayor they've ever had of Daytona Beach, Florida.
Wow.
So I've grown up with kind of that type of energy of, community, social justice. Like, before the social justice scene was even a thing, that was something that was in my household as a staple of discussion, of consideration, of concern and care, serving your community and serving your community with culture and with pride was something that was so driven home to myself and my siblings. Again, I am the last of 5, and I also am an HBCU graduate, as are all of my siblings. Florida A&M over here, though. We have in my family, we have some Clark Panthers, we have some other Rattlers, and we also have a Blue Devil, but we have the Devils from Dillard University, not Duke University in New Orleans. Yeah. So I definitely, like I said, this journey started well before Plantations for Reparations. I've done, as you shared in your rundown, thank you so much for sharing that. I've done a lot of things when it comes to community, when it comes to protecting, telling our cultured stories, controlling our narratives. Jobs and opportunities, as I say, careers have always just attracted me to that. But there was nothing as much that prepared me for this as when I was elected as a council member in Coconut Grove in Miami, Florida. I am a 4th generation Bahamian descendant, and Coconut Grove was primarily founded by Bahamians. And what really shocked me was that even though it was founded by Bahamians, the home ownership was very low. And it also was of no, I'm sure, coincidence that during my first year of actually serving on the council, I actually faced an eviction. And what I learned when I faced an eviction, when I suffered through an eviction, was the evictions had very little to do with being able to pay for your housing as much as it had to do with weaponizing housing against, because I was faced with a retaliatory eviction. I was trying to get the home that I was living in at the time. I was trying to purchase it, but also get it declared as a historic, as a part of the historic designation or historic registry. And for all of you all who don't know, when a property is on historic registry, there are certain things that you cannot do to that property. And there's also a cap on what you can rent that property for, because it's supposed to be something that is culturally significant. So it's not just supposed to be something that goes to the highest bidder. And it seems like once the people who I wasn't even funny story, but that's another day. But the people that currently own the house, who were not the original builders of the property, but the corporation that owns the house, once they found out that my case to get it declared historic had been actually, I didn't win that case, they literally moved for an eviction 2 weeks after. So it was a retaliatory eviction, wow. And I did fight it. So that, formerly I was married previously to a lawyer. So I had some, he used to always say that the answering and the back and forth is like a dance. So I was just like, great, okay, let's dance. So I danced it out for a little bit, but eventually, of course, I was not successful. And, I did have to, myself and my 2 children, I was divorced at the time, but myself and my 2 children, we did lose that home, and it was a beautiful home on Florida Avenue in Coconut Grove, Florida. But the research that I started to do about housing really, like I said, significantly prepared me. And this is how, I started down this journey. So a couple of very interesting facts that I learned during this eviction. So it's a great, story about turning tragedy to triumph, right? And about taking things that were meant for against you and using it for you, right? So this is what this did for me. But what I learned about housing really blew my mind, because even though I had always been a housing advocate, you know, my parents owned our home. My grandmother owned and built her own home. I never saw it from a side of renting a home, or I never saw really the history of housing and how housing has been used and weaponized against Black people. I never thought of that. I never saw it that way. Like, I knew that we paid more for housing. I knew that how home ownership was low, but never did I get to the origins. And what I found out was that, again, housing had evictions rather had nothing to do with how much a person could pay for their housing, because people that own properties, that own housing, which you might be surprised that the exact same, almost to the percentage exactly, the same numbers, demographics of people that own slaves are the same demographics of the people that own houses. It's almost right. So again, right, imagine. So during the times of active slavery, of legal slavery, it was about 80% of homeowners were white people. 80% of slave owners are white people. You know, so this also would explain why we're still working with the same numbers. As we know, if anybody is tapped in, you know, everything comes down to numbers. And it is all very in alignment. It's the same exact numbers. And even it goes right down to people that own homes that are not white, where it might be Black, it might be, because remember, it was only up until a certain extent where if you were not white, you were Black. You understand? So that used to be the only thing that you could be. If you weren't white, you were Black. That was it. Now we have different variations. But back then, during active legal slavery, there were, as we know, there were Black slave owners. There were, you know, so there were some Black slave owners. These numbers are almost to the T synonymous with how many Black homeowners there are. So it's like there were 9% slave owners
in the country,
Black in this country, and now there's only 9.9, a little under 10% that are Black owned property homeowners. So we look,
but not chattel slavery though, right? We're not talking about Black chattel slavery. Home.
A lot of times what it was people, you had free Black people that would actually buy their family members
from his back.
Yeah. They would, and they were still classified as slave owners. You're correct. You're correct with that. And so, and let's also be clear, as we know also, slavery by any name is still slavery. And so it, even though it's in the books and we don't know the conditions, like we don't know the conditions of all the plantations, but what we know is that slavery, what that does is it creates an atmosphere, it creates a legal entitlement for ownership of human bodies. And with those human bodies, you can do whatever, you know, you wanted to, of which was done. So again, it was not comfortable information, but it definitely was very surprising, and it was very worthwhile and significant information. And what I further learned was that there was no such thing as renting prior to the Emancipation Proclamation. Say that again for people in the back. It was no such thing as renting. So renting only became an issue, or only became a necessity when Black people were not doing work for free on these properties. Now, these same Black people, since you're free, no, you're going to have to pay the state these properties. Absolutely. And so this is what created. And so when people say, they use terms like this very widely, they say, oh, well, everybody rents. No, they don't. 70% plus renting. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I am exactly saying that to Raw for TV, whoop, whoop. Also out of the Atlanta area. Absolutely. That is what that's what the numbers break down to. That's what the numbers break down specifically to. And so when we say things like, oh, everybody rents, no, we don't. We are 4 times as likely to rent than any demographic. We're 4 times as likely to be evicted, 5 times as likely if you're a single, if you're a single woman, or single-led households, which is we know predominantly are led by Black women. You're 5 times as likely. That means half of the people that rent with Black women will see an eviction in their lifetime. We are 3 times as likely to experience homelessness in our lifetime. And as far as children, 26% of our children are more likely to, or 26% of our children will experience life in a shelter during their lifetime. This is it's 3 times as much and then more than the next demographic down, which would be the Latino community. And then the Asian community is almost non-existent here, and only a little slight lower than the Latino community is the white community. But so when we say things like, well, everybody is in these situations, it's not just a Black problem, it is. And I dare say, like what Elaine Brown from the original Black Panther Party says, America does not have a housing crisis. It has a housing Black people crisis. So this is what brings me to Plantations for Reparations, because if there is any place that we should be able to go and live for free, because we have already paid the rent, bought the deeds, paid the land, tilled the land, worked the land, it is absolutely Plantations. And there are enough still standing that we can make a significant impact on our housing crisis just through plantation ownership.
So break down what exactly is the concept of Plantations for Reparations and how you imagine it working. Like if you could just wave a wand and tomorrow, your program is successful, what does it look like? And then we'll talk about the steps to get there. But just give me, the overall goal first.
Absolutely. My husband and I formed P4R LLC, which stands for, of course, Plantations for Reparations. P4R LLC, it seeks to pioneer legislation to achieve reparations through plantations and farms, providing housing and small business support. So quintessentially, what this means is absolutely welcome. Thank y'all so much. This is a beautiful welcome. So what this means, and just very simply put, the plantations that are still being profited from are they're on the historic registry. So that quintessentially gives them opportunity for grants. It quintessentially gives them opportunity for government funding. It gives them opportunity for getting it developed or making sure that they stay within the lines of certifications and making sure that it stays functioning, making sure that it does still stay standing, and they are able to profit from these. So when we talk about people like Ryan Reynolds getting married on a plantation, just recently, Jennifer Lopez and her, beau got married on his family's plantation. Mind you, his family that he stopped, literally, his family stopped production of Skip Gates, Henry Louis Gates program for almost a year and a half, because it was revealed on his program that his family still owned actively profiting plantations. They shut down that production for a whole year and a half, only to turn around and you and Jennifer Lopez get married on it.
Okay. So hold on one second. Let me just insert right here real quick, because how we actually came across each other was from a post that I made with Jill Scott.
Jill Scott
was talking. She was talking about, she was on set. They were staying on a plantation on some set wherever she was filming, and they had offered her the slave quarters. And rightfully so, she was beside herself, and that post kind of went viral, and that's kind of how you found my page, and we started talking behind the scenes.
That is, and I was so touched. Go ahead. I'm sorry, brother. What was
that? You good.
I was saying I was so touched with your immediate response, because I have responded to some people in the comments, and when I reached out to you, I was, or when you reached, actually, you messaged me first, and I followed, and we, connected back, and I was really touched by that, because when I first started Plantation Reparations and the push and this campaign, I was on TikTok, and the people to first respond were, tell you the truth, they were white people. They weren't Black people. They were white people. And so I was really I was incredibly excited that you responded so quickly. And it was a conversation instead of what gets me is that a lot of when we're talking, and my husband and I, we often talk about this, because it is a conflict of we don't know if we should feel conflicted about it, because there is a lot of white support for it. The first 2,000 of the money that I raised for P4R did came from one white person and their platform. And then, of course, the networking started to trend out, and but we also want to remember that the oppressors always are going to have more than the oppressed. So I'm not upset with that. But what I am upset with is that when we get so many people that say, well, why would you want to live on a plantation? Why you want to work at Walmart?
I think it's a valid question, but we could talk about it. We can talk about it.
I think that we need to start asking we need to start asking, well, if anybody is going to make money from this, it absolutely should be us. And so when you say wave a wand, this is what I'm talking about. Would Ryan Reynolds still have gotten married on a plantation if it was owned by a nyctegur?
Yeah.
With Ben Affleck, with the governor of Georgia, his whole family. This is how they acquired their wealth through. They have the biggest plantation corporation in the United States, and this is how they acquired their wealth. And so we should have these same opportunities. And what I find very interesting and also very telling is that Walmart is most definitely a plantation. Thank you, Black Voltron. Exactly. But what I find very telling is that the plantation properties that were confiscated, because some were confiscated during the Civil War, guess who now who took those over? The Union Army, families. They moved their families from the north. They got this nice plantation. They moved their families from the north right down to this, and they're still in ownership. They are still profiting. They are still exploiting Black bodies.
I was just going to say that they're still profiting off our pain with those plantation tours that you can go on in New Orleans and different places. They are. They're still profiting off our pain.
They're still profiting. And you know what? I'm glad that you mentioned that, because the Whitney Plantation, which of course, when we share our business plan, our business model, we do mention the Whitney Plantation, because we do, at this particular plantation that we are purchasing, which of course we plan on being the first of many. What we're doing is a Black print, as I like to say, not a blueprint, a Black print for other organizations, for other families organized to do the same in purchasing plantations and have them for ownership. But we have to mention the Whitney Plantation, because they have definitely laid some foundation for how to go about collecting, showcasing, and organizing the correct type of interest in plantation viewership. But like I said, at the end of the day, even the Whitney Plantation, as much good as they do with the education and the appropriate and accurate and sensitivities, it is still owned by a white man.
White people.
Right there. Absolutely. Yeah. And we have got to stop just dismissing that, because I get so tired of us saying, well, I used to get it also in Coconut Grove. I led and organized a group of because I used to be a member of the farmers market in Coconut Grove in Miami, and I led a group of vendors to create our own, local Black-owned vending union, if you will. And people were, challenging that, and most of them were us saying, well, the person that owns the farmer's market, he's a nice white man. He bought the property, or he started renting the property and doing the farmer's market when we didn't have an interest in doing it. I don't care that he did when you. I'm glad he did. But now turn it over. Now turn it over, because you have a group that's now interested in it. So turn it over. So if you're a good, white person, continue being be a great white person. Turn the property over. Right. It's very funny too when I'm out advertising and out campaigning, if you will, out something, and people say, "Oh, I have this property. This property is in, my family. I don't know what to do with it. Give it to me. I'll figure it out.
Right.
Give it to me."
Right.
That's not the conversation they want to have. That's not the conversation they want to have. They want to know, how can
even the good white people don't want to. Even the good white people honestly don't want to see us have anything.
Not as much as them. And that's what that threatens, because like I said, I've come across two of those, so-called, they say, I got property and this is a great idea. I don't know what to do with it, but I think this is a great idea. It's not a plantation. Oh, I still take it. I'm sure we can find some people that'll still take your property. Yeah. It doesn't have to be a plantation, ma'am. It doesn't have to be a plantation. We can find some people to still do it, but this is where it ventures off to. Well, this is where it ventures off. And so, like I said, this conversation here, the P4R conversation is very telling. It's very telling. Like I said, sometimes there are challenges. Sometimes sometimes it makes people uncomfortable. A lot of times it makes people uncomfortable, but it's very telling. But I said we can't stop just because it makes us uncomfortable, because where would we be if we stopped with that? If my being, if my not letting my light shine, makes you more comfortable, then that's more, that's a problem with you. That's not a problem. That's not my problem. That's not my problem to fix. And I think that we should just own that as a people. Wow. Well, look at hubby.
Is that your
took my question. He took my question.
I'm about to say, husband, we gonna ask? We gonna ask? No, but it's all good, though. It's all good. That's your New York fellow. Right. Absolutely.
Shout
out to my brother. Nah, keep them coming though. Keep them coming.
Absolutely.
Keep that energy going. So how many plantations are there?
My talking points together.
She started blessing and everything. You saw that?
That's my number one. I love that man. I hope he always knows it. So we right now, as we know, and this is why I have to say this very carefully. We have to be very, as Mark MLK said, and we're coming up on his birthday, big lights up to the ancestor as well. We have to get the language right. As we know, still standing right now, there are 50,000. The reason why I say as we know, because remember, we have to realize what we're dealing with. I don't say what we're up against. I say what we're dealing with. And we are dealing with people that will change numbers when they are convenient. So, I'm telling y'all, and mark my words, somebody please make sure y'all write this down as I'm speaking. As we know right now, there are still 50,000 standing plantations. Let me tell y'all, the moment these reparation checks start going out, they'll say, "Oh, it's only 5,000." Ain't no plantation. That number's gonna move. That number's gonna drop. But they start
reclassifying properties.
Quick. They tried to do that even with this particular, with ours. That you'll see. The property that we're purchasing.
Let me see that.
In official documentation, yes, that's it. In official documentation, they'll say, "Oh, that's the rear." Mm-hmm. Okay. But in official documentation, they'll say it's a farmhouse. I'm sorry. In unofficial documentation, they'll say it's a farmhouse. It's a large farmhouse. But in the official documentation, in the appraisals, in the inspection, in the building reports, and on the historic registry, it's a plantation. And the community knows it as a plantation. They know of it as a former plantation. But on the unofficial, when they're to get the property sold and to make it sound more appealing, they'll say have a farmhouse wedding, have a barn wedding, have a, and then across you can have you can have your bridal dinner, your dinners at the farmhouse. And I said,
I actually see some that say plantation weddings, though. I do see that.
That is weird. To advertise anything like that. To advertise that is insulting.
They're very popular. Ryan Reynolds and Blake got married at the Middleburg plantation in South Carolina, and their wedding cost $1.9 million. Now, mind you, the property that we're purchasing in Athens is only 1.2. So the cost of your wedding costs more than to purchase it. So
the whole plantation.
Where y'all at, Ryan, right. Deadpool, and Blake? Where y'all at? So this is where, as Rihanna said so eloquently, pull up. If y'all know these good white people, y'all know these people, tell them to pull up. Adam Levine and Maroon 5, pull up. Y'all could tell the Swift.
Honestly, I feel like Black people shouldn't have to buy them. My ancestors already paid for it with their bodies. You know what I'm saying?
Agree.
Like,
I agree.
I understand what you're doing and why you're doing it and the message behind it. But when you're thinking about reparations and stuff like that, I'm like, well, shit, it's $50,000. You know what I'm saying? Some of those $50,000 also need to be given back to a lot of the families that descended, from those plantations there, who built that plantation, who farmed on that plantation, who picked cotton on or around that plantation.
I agree.
It should be given back to the family.
I agree totally. I think we, when someone said, well, what will you be satisfied with? And I said 100% ownership. 100% ownership. I'm not satisfied with 10 or 20. 100% ownership. My husband and I, we're discussing something very revolutionary. We're still in the beginning stages of it, so I'm not going to disclose tonight. But we're discussing something very revolutionary that we have a couple of meetings coming up in the next couple of days, and if we can get this framework working, I promise you, it's literally gonna blow people's minds. But I agree with you. I do think that we shouldn't have to purchase them, but we're willing to create a financial black print so that therefore we can take this property and we can do it just as they do with other property. We use this property as leverage. That means we purchase this one outright. We put this up, so Sincere, you go get the next one in Savannah. You know what I mean? Like, we can create a domino effect with that, but somebody's got to light the match. So we're just, we're just trying to make sure that light does get lit. As someone that has worked in government as well as in creating social programs, I can tell you that personally, waiting on them to do it is going to that's I won't say it's not going to happen. I do believe it will, but it's not going to be in the manner of which we want it to be. It's a way for them to figure out, especially if you look at what's already happened. Look at Evanston in Illinois. Look at in California. Yeah, absolutely. Look at even Long Island, what they've done over here. So it'll start out one way, but what happens when you start getting these resolutions and you start getting this, we have to reach across the aisle. Absolutely. And therefore, it's like when you get a grant, all of this, instead of it being for just this, now we have to include this, and we have to do some collaborative over here so that they can get some of this too. No. Plantation is exclusively for
what you're describing is how they try to remix and redefine what reparations actually is. You know what I'm saying? Yes. Like what you're talking about, what's going on in Evanston and some other places around the country, somewhere in Carolina, they tried something like that and all of that.
Yeah.
Our job is to stay on code with the message and make sure that the language gets correct and not to accept those those decoy, whatever you call them, so-called policies that they try to put stuff together and just slap the term reparations on top of it. So it's our job not to accept that and to be very loud about it. You know what I'm saying?
And exactly, and they'll say, "Well, it's for anybody that's been discriminated against." No, absolutely not.
No,
nobody
work.
has been discriminated like Black people. You know, especially when they say, "Well, if someone has literally a sexual orientation,
that doesn't
you
work.
can't look at that when they walk into a bank." Okay, right. You can't. I'm sorry. You know, we're not going to play these type of games, and we're not going to play games with the semantics. We're going to be very much unapologetic. As Brother Umar would say, we're going to be very unapologetic with this, and we are going to stay on code with it. This is for only Black ownership, period. And you know, I'm not even going to get into whether you came here or whether you were born here. If you're Black, you have rights to the property, period. So,
I feel a little different about that. I feel like if
I was about to go there.
If your parents descended from slavery here, I think that they should have top priority on that, because slavery obviously didn't only happen in America, but chattel slavery here in America was huge, long, 400 plus years. And also there's still policies on the books right now. The 13th Amendment, you know what I'm saying, where Black men specifically who are mostly in prison, women too, but mainly men, are still basically going through, slavery by a new name. So I would just say that I believe that everybody should get their reparations, but everyone, not all Black people have the same claim, although we're all Black.
Right.
Let me
frame that even further before you respond. Let me frame that even further, because I was gonna get into this, but since we're here, let's just do it now. Because you had you mentioned earlier that your family came from the Bahamas. You're fourth generation Bahamian or whatever the case may be. Is it both parents or one parent? How's that?
No, just my father.
Just your father. Okay, so your mother would be considered a foundational Black American. Your father,
not only is my mother FBA, but I'm a Scarlet bloodline. My grandmother Yvonne Scarlet Golden, I know she had double color names, but the Scarlets were FBAs, but they were sold into slavery. That's where the Scarlet name comes from. That is not a surname from a country. That is because they were red skinned, but they were still they're FBAs, and
have you researched their plantations? Do you know what plantations they were sold onto? Have you researched that part from your family?
The Scarlets come from actually Florida, the Moccasin Gap. So the Moccasin Gap was actually a strip of properties, or strips of lands where there were FBAs, foundationally Black, but also there were freed men that created their own area. But there were multiple plantations that have not been recognized on the historic registry, but the land is still there. The land and the property, and there have been some build out of some other homes that are still there, but not an exact plantation. But it is in the Tallahassee area. And this was something that I knew ever since, going to FAMU, because my grandmother would always tell us that that's where, she wanted us to go visit while we were there in the area. She wanted us to go visit, but she actually was a Bethune-Cookman graduate, as are both my parents. And she did her master's in Boston College. But we had heavy Florida.
That's that Florida water.
I tell you something about that, and it is real. But something about that is very telling also on our culture, because I tell you, there aren't too many people that I know that are us, found FBAs that haven't touched Florida in some type of way. So I said, I think, I even say this to my husband, because New York has the most amount of Black people. And
New York has the most amount of Black
people. You think so? You think
New
York does, not the South?
I'm not telling you what I think. I'm telling you what I know. Yeah, it has the most amount of Black. It's the largest Black city. New York City has
New
the
York
most amount of black
City.
people. Yes, has the most amount of black people. And I said that can't be all from immigration or migration. They had to have been here. A lot of them had to have just been here, we
plantation or
we
something
can't know the numbers, but we know that they've been here. That ain't just all of us coming up from the South. I said, nah, because remember the first thing sold on Wall Street was what?
Right.
A pregnant black woman.
Yeah. The first stocks and
Sylvester Manor.
Bonds. Yeah.
Yep.
Sylvester Manor is in New York.
See there? Mm-hmm. See there? Yeah, that we're
let me get
here.
Let me get your response about the specificity, because the reason why I responded to you so readily on the post, because I took a look at your page, I took a look at the link in your bio, and we talk about reparations a lot on this platform. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the main things that we stay laser focused on. And so we have two types of reparations that we're looking at: state and federal. You know what I'm saying? Okay. And so we see it as cash payments. We see it as being lineage specific. Land grants and baby bonds and representation on task force, investments into a new Freedmen's Bureau and the Bureau of Freedmen's Affairs, things of that nature. But we definitely focus on the specificity around foundational Black Americans. So how you feel? What's your thoughts about that?
I do think that we should be specific around FBAs. What I'm saying in regards to property ownership is I don't think that someone should be excluded because they are not FBA.
I agree.
So this is where this is and what we know is that when it comes to the housing discrimination, and again, a lot of my work, I'm not trying to put nobody to sleep tonight because I'm telling you it's expensive, but a lot of my work has been in housing discrimination across the nation. And when it comes down to that, it's literally just black skin. It's black skin. It's not where they come from. It's not you know how many times when I would be traveling just from Philly, I would get asked, do I have a fat passport? Bam, you is in the house. That's right. Rattlers, come on now. Come on. But I would be asked if I had a passport. And I just thought that was, to me, I always felt I would be traveling, as 20 years old, 22 or so. And I just thought that was just so racist. Like, what do you mean? Do I have a passport? What is that? What is that? Well, I remember they would ask, where are you coming from? I'm like, Texas. And then like before that, here, I flew from Texas, now I'm flying back. But this is what we have to understand and appreciate. And I think again, this comes with tapping in and just appreciating our lineage, our ancestry. And some people it does just stop here. Myself, it didn't. I am actually from before the Bahamas. My family does trace back to Hottentot Venus. So I got the Hottentot Venus vibe in me. I got some Sarah Bartman, tribeship in me. Okay. But that was before the Bahamas even. And so that's where I'm saying that's what we kind of do when we start saying, well, this is a separation. We sometimes cut off even our own lineage. We cut off our own knowledge of knowing the extents of our DNA. Because anywhere a Black foot has touched soil, absolutely, I'm entitled to. Entitled.
I always say the earth is our turf. You know what I'm saying? It ain't about just a specific geographical location, but specifically when we're talking about slavery reparations, that's when we tend to get into the specificity of it.
Yes, when it comes to reparations,
it muddies the waters when you just try to say anybody Black, because anybody Black didn't build America, and so everybody Black is not entitled to those specific that specific repair that is owed. You know what I'm saying?
No, I that's why I said when it comes to reparations, we are FBA understand and sensitive. However, when it comes to land ownership, I believe all
that's
Black
different.
people should be
that's totally different. That's totally different. And honestly, everybody owe. If we really gonna get down to it, everybody owe. Us. Everybody
I love that.
And I know Bahamas is kind of like a special case too, because there was a lot of interaction between Floridians and Bahamians, you know what I'm saying, going all the way back. They were people who were foundational to this land who ended up in the Bahamas and vice versa.
And back and forth. Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's a real special case right there.
And again, like you said, but this just shows, and it just gives light to the complexity, but also to the creativity of our culture and how we have been able to really duplicate greatness, duplicate cultural impact, no matter where we have set grounds at. And this is the reason why you can eat a dish in you can eat a dish in Queens, and it can be very reminiscent of something that you had, growing up in Georgia. And this is because when we have our stamp, we can take that and we put that anywhere. But there are some very specific places, like you said, that it almost surprises me that they mirror one another. And that's honestly how I fell in love with Coconut Grove. People always ask, as they do with the plantation, this particular plantation that we're purchasing, how'd you find it? And I say, I don't look for those things; they find me. And that's exactly Coconut Grove. I woke up literally the next morning after moving into it was my first place after getting divorced. And it was just a small little they call them shotgun homes. But it's a small little, kind of like a little beach house, a little shack, a cottage. But I woke up and the Junkanoo band was playing. I said, "Oh, I'm home." Honey.
And I just recently learned the history of that.
Yeah. Yes, and beautiful. I mean, the steel drums and the whole thing. And what was interesting was that I've never witnessed with my own eyes, a traditional goon bag, but the essence of that culture is so prevalent, and the memories of people that have it definitely does a lot of it gives a lot of excitement when I have witnessed things like, the Mardi Gras and that sort of thing. And so, we can see where we have our presence. And that's exactly what I think we should be and could be and will be celebrating on these plantation sites. I call them, as someone said in the OnStart, saying plantations makes it feel kind of funny. So we call them from plantation to village. We want to create villages where plantations once stood. So this is the plan. We don't want to just continue a system of exploitation. We want to create an atmosphere of celebration and recognition and admiration. Because take honor and pride in the fact that your ancestors built these properties and they're still standing. Yes, 200, indeed. 300, 400 years later.
Yes, indeed.
That's a beautiful property. What is your plans with the property? Once everything is closed, you get your keys and things like that. What is the plans?
Well, first things first, me and hubby need to make a baby. Because she don't have no
first things
first. We got to make a baby on that plantation. No, but the reason why, let me tell you why, the significance of that, because this particular property actually, it was built towards the end of the Civil War. So when it completed, the Emancipation Proclamation had already been ratified. So instead of it being a plantation traditionally, it was what you just said up top, nice. It was actually a labor convict camp. It was where they executed the 13th Amendment. And of that, Black women and Black children were barred from the property. So we want to also recognize, because if we're going to tell the story, we're going to tell it right. There were non-Black slaves or non-Black convicts as well, but those non-Black convicts were allowed to go home to their families. Right. They were allowed to have stays with their families. The Black men that worked this property never could leave the property. They worked them until James Smith died. The owner was named James Smith until he died. And once he died, Some of them remained on the property as groundskeepers, and then they were eventually. So this particular property has never had a Black family, not just owning it, but even residing in it. So this is why hubby and I got some work to do. But ultimately, what we do plan on creating is, again, a beautiful village where we are going to work the farm. There's about 10 acres of farm. My husband is a builder, so we are looking at building some additional properties or some additional structures on the property. And these are all spaces that are for ownership. So we're not just looking at, myself and our children, 2 teenagers. We're just not looking at our family. We're looking at creating a village, and that's by uniting and bringing in other families. And like I said, we're working on something I'm really excited. We're working on something very dynamic in regards to housing that I definitely think is going to revolutionize not just the Plantations for Reparations initiative, but also for the housing initiative as well, because it's going to give some opportunity to a big demographic of people that are kind of being left out of the home ownership picture. So
is that going to be in Georgia? Is that going to be specific to Georgia residents?
This will be for all of we're creating a system, if you will, so that this can be implemented by any plantation. So we have record as it stands right now, y'all. Let's get it registered right now before, like I say, those checks start to get cut, and all of a sudden they say these plantations don't exist. Let's get them. Let's get it registered. But there are plantations as far as California, Texas, Virginia, New York, Delaware. There are plantations that are not just in the South, but they're in the Midwest, they're West, and some even in the Northeast. And we want to create this particular system so that we can continue to. And I always say, what's so funny is that they say, well, they can't figure out who to pay and what to pay. Yes, I said, well, y'all figured out how to get us here. Y'all figured out how to man these plantations. Y'all figured out what y'all had to do to keep the plantations growing. How many people had to be born a year? Y'all worked it all down to a science.
Let's just use that good brain. Y'all figured out how to redline.
They play dumb when it comes to justice. You can't figure that out. Y'all know every little insect inside the jungle. Y'all know everything about the damn insects. Y'all the smartest people on planet Earth until it come down to figuring out how to do justice.
Right.
The hell out of
how
here.
To do justice. I love that. Put that on a quote. Hello. Put that
Hello.
On a quote. Hello. Yeah, they can figure it out really well. They kept great records, but now all of a sudden when it's time to pay somebody, they can't figure out who to pay and what to pay. No, we can figure it out. Let us help you. Let us help you. Listen, we can start with those 38,000 still profiting plantations. And for anyone that says, well, why would you, again, like you said, why would you want to own a plantation? Let me tell you, someone told me this in a chat, actually. That just sounds like it's a lot of headache. I wouldn't want that. And I said, well, it's millions of dollars of a headache that I'd be willing to have. That's better to me than a headache and figuring out how my family is going to eat and where we're going to live from year to year. Because again, if you are of the 49% of Black people here in the United States right now, you are talking about an average of living in your current property 2.5 years. So every 2.5 years, you're figuring out another place to stay, another apartment to rent. We're waiting for taxes so we can go and move into this, always luxury something. And again, with people that say, well, I couldn't live on a plantation because so much has happened there. I say, as I always say, show me one place in America where Black blood hasn't touched the soil.
Exactly. Honestly, I would feel safer there because I would feel like the spirit of the ancestors would be there.
That's what I said.
I would feel okay personally.
I told somebody that I said I'm the one they want to see here. I said that I'll be scared for somebody else, but you know, and even the first time I took my husband, because you know, I took my husband as like that was we weren't married then the first time, because I brought him to the spot. We were, you know, dating, but I brought him because I wanted him to see, because he's a builder, and I wanted him to see like how beautiful like this you know structure was, and I asked him how he felt, because the previous gentleman I was dating, you know, I asked him the same question, and he was just like, it was kind of weird. He didn't really like it, you know. But when I took my husband, he really, you know, he loved it. And I said that he's got to be the one. Because what he said when we were leaving, he said, let's figure out a way for you to own this. And I said, yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
You know, it sounds like you might need to get them on the Pick Me Godcast to talk about some black love though, because you know, that sounds
I've been
like
called a pick me so many times. I did a TikTok post about that. Because they were talking about Frederick Douglass and how bad he did his black wife, that he wanted to teach her to read. I said, you talking about a man that grew up in bondage and seeing black women but even caring for him, not wanting his. I said that may have been the only sense of protection that he could give his wife, you know, and from what I saw, the tales that I read, you know, it wasn't like he was treating the white one any much better. He was being friends with her enemies and stuff like that. So I said Frank was just, you know, he just
Frank didn't know. He was just looking for some companionship.
That was just he was surviving. He was surviving.
That's it.
But I said that if we put more energy into figuring out how to create these healthy, functional relationships, as opposed to calling someone like me a pick me, I think we would be just better off.
I agree.
I've been called plenty of times. Absolutely.
I've been called worse. That's what I'm telling. I've been called worse.
Oh, I was crying one night. They had me in a chokehold one night. I was crying. I had to wait till my babies went to sleep. I was crying over there on that computer. I said, I can't believe they was telling me that, you know, because I was big and I was just they were telling me that my son, you know, didn't deserve no life, you know, and my daughter should be and these were black women, they say. Like I said, some of them probably ain't even black, but we do such a nasty number on each other. We don't even need to worry about the other sometimes doing it to us. But
but I think that you know, as long as I'm just gonna say shitting on black men specifically, women are gonna be like, yes, sis, you know, men ain't shit, you know, you're gonna get the most likes, the most applause, the best comments. But as soon as you get in the position of defending black men, you know what I'm saying, and loving on black men and not making excuses for poor behavior, but understanding where a lot of the poor behavior comes from. You know what I'm saying? Slavery has done a number on all of us. You know, and I'm just not here for the gender divide. I'm not here for the gender divide. I'm gonna love them. I'm gonna love a black man back to life. Period.
It just sinks into me though. They was calling you a pick me. They was calling you a pick me for defending Frederick Douglass. That just sunk in.
Oh yeah. Anything. It doesn't matter if you say anything nice about a black man that's not negative. You know, anything that you say in defense of any black man, you are going to get called a pick me.
Oh yeah, and like I said, the time when I was left crying, thank you, literally, thank you, Black Voltron. Yes, and I'm definitely proof of it. My hubby and we got married on my birthday on July 21st. So when they say that black men don't marry black women,
that's a lie.
But the reason how they started calling me that day was because I was just saying that, you know, my son was brilliant. You know, I said, you know, my son is brilliant because he comes from his father's a genius. You know, his mama's a genius. You know, he's gonna be a brilliant. And they were like, oh, your daughter, you're doing such a disservice to your daughter. You're not talking about your daughter. You know, your son doesn't deserve to live. And I was like, you're talking about a boy.
Wow, that is crazy.
These people are dangerous. These people are dangerous.
Let me tell you, listen though, think about it, y'all. We have a whole hashtag that's been going on for a few years called Black Girl Magic. There's nothing or a hashtag really or specific to Black boys, Black men. We have a lot of things out there that, I mean, but that's something that we say. I think we'll say it. We'll say it, but you had award shows and stuff like that called the, you know what I'm saying? Where's the Black man magic and the Black boy joy, you know, shows and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So they definitely purposely and intentionally use us. And I don't think that necessarily Black women, and when I say Black women, the celebrity class that's doing those Black girl magic shows and stuff, they don't understand how that looks. Where's our Black man? Because we don't stand alone.
I dare say they do. They do. And, you know, that's why I love, I don't know if you've had her, but if you haven't, definitely try to get her. But Teresa the Songbird, I love her and how she gives just she does have a poem now called, you know, Black Girl, when she talks about, when she speaks on her grandfather and, you know, the influence of, you know, just Black men and the way that she has even crafted, you know, the original. You so Black, you know. I love her love. Yes. I love when we can celebrate us. Period.
And that's the thing. It's us. It's us. It's not Black women and Black men over here. This is how we come. Just like this. I don't like.
And that's the real power.
You know.
And that's what we have to understand. That's the real power. And I tell my daughter this all the time. And I said, you know, because it was funny because people, especially the ones that would say I was giving too much love and doting on my son. I said, oh, you ain't talked to my son about my daughter, because he says, why does Niani get to sleep and I gotta come with you to the store? I said, because Niani gonna birth nations. Niani gonna birth a nation. I say, you know, you gotta protect. But Niani, my daughter's son, I call him my diamond and my son. I said, she's gonna birth a nation. But this is what I tell my daughter all the time. I said, you know, without you, there can be no more me. Mm-hmm. There can be no more me. This stops with me without you. And so this is what we have to understand. And you look in your children's eyes, and we know this. And this brings me back, because I know we're probably closing now, but this is what brings back what my husband and we love to say is that, you know, on these plantations, when people say, well, why would you want to live there? Remember, without them, there is no us. On these plantations, babies were born, marriages were made, unions were formed. Yes, a lot of brutality took place. Yes, a lot of hurt took place. But, you know, we had joy. We had joy regardless. We had joy in spite. You know, we had joy just.
And still do.
Absolutely. You know, always. And so.
Because we ain't too far removed from slavery.
And we aren't
too far removed from it right now, to be honest. We still live in a system of oppression.
I tell people all that, I say that as well. Mentality wise, we aren't. So what my husband and I are doing to create a village, like I said, with the farming, we'll have memberships, we have ownership opportunities. People can come in and chow down and enjoy the food that we offer with the Colored Only Cafe, but at the same time, we do have Real Hill opportunities.
I want to ask you about that. Talk about that.
I was going there too, because I'm like, her page is full of food, you know.
Oh, well, I have two Instagram pages. So I also have Group Glow Up. Group Glow Up is more of my, you know, life and outside of the food. But Colored Only Cafe is actually, it was created because when I lost my, you know, the home in Florida, I was at church, and that next about weekend, and when I was on my campaign trail, because I don't drink alcohol, and so I had created a beverage, and I wanted to create like something for people to come and mingle and kind of talk, but it not be so, you know, politicky. So I created a beverage called Grove Aid, because again, it was Coconut Grove, and it's pineapple-based lemonade. And from there, that's what I started selling at the farmer's market. And within 2.5 months, I was able to afford to move into a condo back in the Grove from that. So talk about taking lemons and making lemonade, but it started with just the lemonade, then it went to the kale salad, then it went to some things that, you know, my children and I just love for me to make, like the cinnamon rolls and But we do, it's plant-based. So it's plant prioritized, not plant-based. So I do love me some meats, but the plants are always going to be the stars of the meal. And the reason why it's called Colored Only Cafe, it's a great conversation piece, but it's mostly because the best things in life that we can consume are color filled. And so that means the greenest of our greens, that means the reddest of our berries, that things that are best in minerals and vitamins are going to have a lot of color. And so it is the colored only. And this is the only place where you can be where, color is the priority. And it is okay to say never again do I want to have anyone feel that because they're colored, they're less than. So at our cafe, only colors are allowed. Are you feeling blue today? you feeling yellow? You feeling orange? You feeling purple? You feeling like royalty? Come on in. Absolutely. You feeling a little spry, but these are the colors that we want to. But it's a great conversation piece, and it is an ode to our history, our culture, with our food, with our cuisine. It is a contribution to the community, but it absolutely is it's a testimony. It's a testimony and a reflection of the best things in life being colored. So, and that's
awesome. And do you do all the cooking, or do you have a team?
Oh, it's me primarily. My husband is because he's allergic to seafood. So it's just a wonder that we actually ended up together. Because honey, I told him, I said, I just told him today, I said, my son has requested a seafood broil on his birthday because since my husband and I met, we ain't did those broils like we used to. We used to
pop some Benadryls.
We used to broil every Friday, but he's going to start doing some meats, but I do primarily most of the cooking. My daughter does the baking though. She is a great baker.
Awesome.
She does the cinnamon rolls. My son is an expert taster at this point. He doesn't do too much, but he will stir the pot and he will do some tasting here and there. He's a big time eater. But it is myself for now that does the cooking primarily. As my husband is cooking, he's cooking me up some livers right now, some chicken liver. Ooh.
Listen, sister, you are a wealth of knowledge. I feel like we have to have you back because I can tell there's just so much more that you have to pour into us, into the audience, and all of that. And I love what you guys are doing. I think it's important what you guys are doing. The question I want to ask you: how did you get such a clear vision and understanding of your purpose?
Wow, brother. I'm tapped in. That's the only way I can say it. This came to me in a vision. This came to me in a dream. I was actually, it was the top of COVID, and I had a condo. I have a spiritual advisor. She's living in Ghana right now, living her best life. Hey, Goldie. We just talked actually just the other day, and I told her I was going to be on here, and she gave me a specific assignment she wanted me to have done before I came on tonight, and I'm happy to say I did do them. But I remember, man, I had a condo. It was poolside. I had just cooked up some seafood, something. Me and Goldie out by the pool. Goldie said, "You're not going to find your man here." And I said, at this point, I had been abstinent for about 5 years. And she said, and she just said it kind of out of the blue. I hadn't even asked her. And I said, nobody even asked her nothing like that. And I was just looked at her. I just jumped in the pool. I was like, I'm not even listening to Goldie. And about maybe 3 weeks later, I had a dream. My mom, who's now an ancestor, she's on the ancestral plane, y'all. She came to me in a dream, and it was at the top of COVID. And I had just come out of the hospital with my daughter for a whole week. My daughter had really bad asthma, and she had an attack, Super Bowl Sunday, actually. And my mom came to me in a dream, and she told me heaven was Africa. And I said, well, I already know that, but thank you. And so, but it was such a clear dream, and I saw and described, and everything was described, and how the floors looked and the banisters and everything. And literally I started getting recommended homes from Atlanta. And I said, well, wait a minute. Atlanta ain't Africa, is it? Maybe so. So, and I had lived in Atlanta before, and I always loved Atlanta, but honestly, I hadn't planned on moving back to Atlanta. My plan was to move to Africa, And so when I got this dream from my mom, I was like, okay, Africa. But I was getting all this recommended stuff from Atlanta, and it was the top of COVID. And I said, now, if there's one place I know I can live, and I can do so on a little bit of, money, but a lot of just kind of connections and going, it's Atlanta. And within 3 weeks of me moving back to Atlanta, and I resigned from office. Now, mind you, I resigned from the council. I moved back to Atlanta, and I told God I didn't want to do nothing with it. I was actually writing a media production about reparations. So, Sincere, we have some talking to do. And there is a poet in Atlanta by the name of Sincere. So but he spells it Sin's ear. And so that's the differentiation. But I'm telling you, we got this is not a coincidence at all with this connection. So within 3 weeks of me moving back to Atlanta, I ended up working for a woman that was running for the county commissioner seat in Tucker. And that was how I ended up in Tucker. And, I knew that I couldn't, she got me a townhouse in Tucker, but I knew that I didn't want to, just be in a place where I had to rent, even though the rent was covered. I wanted my own. So when I looked for homes, it was Plantations, because I said I wanted a big home. And as I started asking people, hey, how did they feel about Plantation? It was this particular one. This particular one was the only one that was turnkey, which means it was ready to move in. I didn't have to do any, because like I said, I wasn't married at the time. I didn't know God was sending me a builder husband, at the time.
Right. Okay.
So I wanted something that was just ready. I could move in. And that's always been me. And I've always liked nostalgic. I've always liked older homes. I've never been like one of those modern type of, that just never has appealed to me. It's always felt kind of cold, And so I went and saw this property, and it was the person that did my my financial lending to even that gave me my letter was actually a guest at my cafe. I had the cafe at the Core, located in East Point, Atlanta. And I told him that I needed a lending letter to see this home, and he gave me that lending letter, and I went to see it, and I said, I'm home. This is it. And so I just started working on tailoring the vision, because remember, the vision has never just been about just me and my family. It's been about how can, this serve, the greater good, the greatest good. And this comes from just, like I said, my background with, my parents being social workers, and my grandmother being a lifelong advocate and a traveler. And a real cultural lobbyist. She definitely was. She went from being the principal out in San Francisco. She was the principal of Alamo Park High School before it became Ida B. Wells High School. And then she moved back to Daytona, and she ran for office. She never lost an election. She just had a real sense of community, and she was brilliant. She is brilliant. I don't say was, but it's always been very clear, because again, my ancestors and my elders it's been clear to them what I should be doing. And so there have been very, I'm not going to say there haven't been down moments, because even you can know your purpose and still, as my good friend Palmetto, his show is tomorrow, you all, and my husband and I will be on that as well, Too Raw for TV, at 11 p.m. But as he always says, even when it's 1 + 1, 1 is a part of the problem. So you learn to still can know your purpose, and still, have some days where it's like you're not doing enough, you're not reaching your goals, you're not feeling it. But I've always just kind of known it, because like I can look at my history. I look at what my grandmother achieved. The Bill France himself, Bill France Jr. of the Bill France Speedway, the creators of NASCAR, told her that Daytona wasn't ready for a Black or female mayor, and she had the guts to tell him, with all due respect, I think you're wrong. And by the time she made it back over to her headquarters, her campaign manager called her and told her, he called in, he's giving you the intimate. And she never lost it. He said it took a lot of guts to tell him that he was wrong. And so I cannot fail with people that have had that type of certainty. And I just feel I'm very grateful to be in I'm very grateful to be in this position right now, because again, we have a lot to do before everything finalizes on Tuesday. But I feel like I said, I've been blessed with a beautiful husband. Just I tell him, I was like, you made my dreams come true. You're making dreams come true for me. You know how many people told me you ain't gonna find no man with no kids in his 40s, and that you're not gonna do this. And so he's living proof that it's possible. It's possible. So here we are.
Shout out to Black Love.
Yeah, congratulations.
Shout out to Black Love is magic, y'all. Now that's what's magic. I tell people that that's what's magic. Black Love is magic. It really is. I feel like for us to be able to be in consensus and agreement and just loving on each other, it takes a lot. It does take a lot, but it's so rewarding. It's so rewarding and it's beautiful. And to have someone to do life with, it's inexplainable. It's definitely something that I can't put it sometimes into words of how good that feels again, to just have someone to talk to, be listened to. And I also want to give a shout out before we get out of here to Freedom, Georgia. Let me tell you,
it broke up. Would you say
they are
that
doing some amazing things.
Up.
Freedom, Georgia.
Oh,
Freedom, Georgia. I just want to give a shout out for Freedom, Georgia. Yes, they are the family. It's a family of 19, a collection of 19 families that brought about 500 acres
that property out there. Yeah.
Yes.
What's the brother's name?
So I want to
Muslim
give a
brother
shout
heads
out.
that, right?
No, actually, it's a sister. Her name is 3 women. It's families though. It's all families, but it's three women. It's Ashley, she's also from Philly. It's Laura's from Ohio, and Jessica just got off the phone with her today. Thank you, Jessica. They're Freedom, Georgia, but they are families. So, but my connections have been. And they also were guests at the cafe. So I'm telling y'all, we got to bring you some Sincere. When I get back, trust me, we cooking up.
Listen, you ain't said nothing but a word.
Some colored only love.
You ain't said nothing but a word.
Absolutely.
Okay, this is a different one. I'm looking at that now. Okay. Let me follow them also. Shoot. All right.
Yes. And my that Instagram is Group Glow Up. For anybody that wants to see the other page.
Type it in the chat.
I know y'all see how many follow page as a
you're breaking up a little bit now.
It's a definite difference. Oh, did you? I just said the Group Glow Up is just for people on the other side, but I know that a lot of my love comes from the food page.
Okay. All right. Well, nicely, we could do it how we do it, how we always do it at this time.
Well, again, I want to thank you for tapping in with us and sharing your story. I'm super excited. Congratulations on everything that you have coming up. We're going to be signing final documents on Tuesday. We're putting that out there so we can get this thing closed. I want to visit. I want my invitation to come visit and come eat.
Invitation and celebration. Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Before we end, I would like to ask, what does freedom and power mean to you?
Ooh, freedom means, I'm gonna steal it from Asada Shakur, on this one. Freedom
what's crazy?
Is
look everything is just
Wow, connection.
The ancestors again.
Look, and you see what it says at the bottom of the shirt? Power.
Power.
Look, y'all, I'm done. I don't even have to say no more.
I'm done.
I am. You know, and Asada, she's also she's a Cancer as well. I'm a Cancer. You know, I'm a Cancer sister as well. So she's a Cancer also. But that freedom is the have the privilege of living your life any way you choose to live it. You know, my sister, she said, Courtney, why a plantation? I said, I don't care if it's a plantation in Georgia or if it's Beverly Hills in California. I want our tent in Montana. I want the freedom to be able to live wherever I want to live. And I don't think anybody walking this earth that's running as a human has any type of authority to tell me otherwise. So it may be the plantation this year, but shoot, it might be Beverly Hills, it might be that it might be a tent. You know, my husband and I, we camped on. He's a big camper. We camped on our honeymoon, you know, and I want the option for all of it. I want the option for all of it. I don't want to be confined to live in this box, in this place, in this tiny home. I be telling people, y'all can keep them tiny homes. Okay, y'all can. You know, I mean, if you're gonna give it to me, I'll take it. But I'm not gonna be sitting around trying to figure out how to pay you for no tiny home for what, you know. But freedom is power. So that's what freedom means to me. And that is the power to be able to live my life any way I please without anyone having authority over me. That is, you know, that is that's quintessentially, I think, ultimately what we all should be after. I'm not after just the money or a handbag or nice shoes. Like that too now. You know, my son will tell you I like nice clothes and my nice oils and smell goods. But the beauty of it is that just having that complete control and that complete understanding and the reality of just whatever the day takes you, that's where I can be. And I think for so long, so many of us for so long don't even know what that means. You know, right. We've been 9 to 5 in it since we were 9, you know, working for someone else and being told this is what it's going to be and this is where you're going to be and this is who you're going to be. I'm thankful for the ancestors. I'm thankful for the realities. I'm thankful for the experiences that have shown me and have guided me to where I am right now, which is knowing that life and how our story, as my husband says, is written by us, not for us. And everything that we do happens for us, not to us. Period. Use it.
I like that.
Tap in.
Yes, indeed. So, all right, this part right here, I gotta throw you on the Summer Jam screen real quick. Ooh, the microphone is yours. The entire Black community is listening. What parting words would you like to leave us with tonight?
Just y'all come and visit. Come and visit us at p4r.today. I appreciate these opportunities so much to talk to different networks and be on these platforms. But there is nothing more that I love more than connecting with each other. I'm a constant believer in connection. We are the currency. We are the energy. Let's use this effectively. Not just about building a world and no metaverse, y'all. Come in, let's connect personally, physically, because that is power. Unity is power. Please come see us. I do not take it lightly when I say, hey, I want to meet up. I want to link up with you. I take that very seriously. Nicey girl can tell you that. Sincere can tell you that. I take that very seriously. And so visit the website. Please plug in, you guys, because just you going to visit the website, filling out the contact page, it does so much to boost us in the algorithms. And remember, when we're going after closing out with these, multi-million-dollar lenders and these organizations, it does a lot for them to know that people are, supportive and they're interested in what we're doing. And they're checking those numbers, because remember, numbers are everything. So tap in, please. P4R.today. I am Courtney Omega X. Y'all see that? So proud. So proud pick me over here. We got to have a sorority. Yeah. But thank you all. Thank you both again. Thank you both again. This has been
Absolutely.
Thank you again. And thanks to your hubby that was in the chat. Everyone else that's in the chat, thank you all for tuning in tonight. We appreciate y'all here at the Godcast. Sincere, don't forget, tomorrow he has his passive income weekly series that's going on tomorrow at 8 p.m. and that's going to be Eastern Standard Time, correct? Yeah, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you guys are following up. This is going to be week 4 of his progress, and also figure out how you can also make some passive income. So make sure you're tapped into that tomorrow. We'll be back as usual on Sunday for our current events, series that we do every Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Pick Me Godcast, which was going to be tomorrow, is going to be next Thursday. We coming back, y'all, I promise. And we are definitely going to have our sister, Courtney Omega X, on here, because, she's all for Black love. And we definitely, the Pick Me Godcast is not just about Black love between men and women. For us, it's about sisterhood too. And also brotherhoods, because we want to bridge the gap between Black people as a whole and bring that love and community back, bring the neighbor back to the hood, all that good stuff. So it's, not just Black love in a sense of relationships and marriage, but sisterhoods, brotherhoods, and all that. So, y'all tap in.
Yes, indeed. And with that being said, family, that does it for today's episode of Sincere Love the Godcast. This has been the Black Business Showcase. We appreciate everybody tuning in with us. Always remember, we are not the master teachers, but we are the master students and signal boosters for the voices of the new Black media. Peace and Black love.
Most resilient, we poster children of prophecy fulfillment. We gotta be God's children.